realize that generally nobody listens to these recordings anyway. I do want to take a stop just to read out of one of my favorite books, As Bill Sees It. This is on page 11. Quantity or quality. About this slip business, I would not be too discouraged. I think you're suffering a great deal from needless guilt. For some reason or other, the Lord has laid out tougher paths for some of us, and I guess you're treading one of them. God is not asking us to be successful. He is only asking us to try to be. That you are surely doing and have been doing. So I would not stay away from AA through any feeling of discouragement or shame. It's just the place you should be. Why don't you try just as a member? You don't have to carry the whole AA on your back, you know. It's not always the quantity of good things that you do, it's also the quality that counts. Above all, take it one day at a time. And in my mind, that's a tremendous reading, especially the sentences in the middle. God is not asking us to be successful. He is only asking us to try to be. That you are surely doing and have been doing. It's worth buying the book just to get that one page. And there's like 11 references in here to when you have a slip up. And I know in my program, I shouldn't rely on the compulsive overeating brain for how to think about things. I should look at the literature and give that the instruction to me as to how I should be thinking about things. Alrighty, we're going to pick up the reading. We're at steps 6 and 7. It's on page 76. We have emphasized willingness as being indispensable. Are we now ready to let God remove from us all the things that we have admitted are objectionable? Can he now take them all, every one? If we still cling to something we will not let go, we ask God to help us be willing. So now we're to we'll do the 6-step prayer in unison. Prayer. God, thank you for removing my fear and for showing me the truth about myself. Father, I need your help to become willing to let go of the things in me which continue to block me off from you. Please grant me your grace, Lord, and make me willing to have these objectionable characteristics, defects, and shortcomings removed. And then let's give ourselves a hand because we've done step 6. We've done the prayer. Now I'm going to read the next paragraph. It's funny, the 2 steps, 6 and 7, it's just 2 short little paragraphs. So boy, that's an important part of the program. And then when ready, we say something like this. My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. We have then completed step 7. So, let me scroll down. We can do, I'm sorry, I'm goofing us up here. Let's read this. I missed the 6-step prayer. Dear God, I am ready for your help in removing. Let's do that one together. Dear God, I am ready for your help in removing from me the defects of character which I now realize are an obstacle to my recovery. Help me to continue being honest with myself and guide me towards spiritual and mental health. And then let's go right ahead and do the 7th step prayer in unison. My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which
which
stand
stand in my way of being usefulness to you and my fellows.
Grant me
Grant me strength
as I go
as I go from here to do your bidding.
Amen.
Let's give ourselves a hand. We've done step 7. That's tremendous, tremendous. Now I do want to mention to you, Joe and Charlie, who are in Alcoholics Anonymous, they say that we're going to work on steps 6 and 7 for the rest of our lives. And that shouldn't be discouraging, as long as you're making progress. And I would even share that I've gotten rid of some of my defects of character, and I would give a lot of credit to my sponsor, because she's a wonderful woman and she saw potential in me that I didn't see in myself. And being more specific, I was 62 years old, I'm 68 now. That was the first time in my life that I ever sent a sympathy card to somebody because the woman's husband died. That's how selfish and lazy and whatever I was. But I don't do that now. When someone I know has a death, I send them a sympathy card, and I think that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And then I've had other things that I do better. Now, there's the pre-8th step prayer. Let's move it up to where we can see it a little better. Let's do this prayer in unison, the pre-8th step prayer. Prayer. God, please remove from my fears and show me your truth.
And show me your truth.
Show me all the
harm
caused myself. We can answer to our satisfaction when we took step 6. We have emphasized willingness as being indispensable. Are we now ready to let God remove from us all the things which we have admitted are objectionable? Can he now take them all, every one? If we still cling to something, we will not let go. We ask God to help us be willing. We've already read that. I'm sorry. All righty, we've done the 7th step prayer. We now need more action. We find that faith without works is dead. Let's look at steps 8 and 9. We have a list of all persons we have harmed and to whom we are willing to make amends. We made it when we took inventory. We subjected ourselves to a drastic self-appraisal. Now we go out to our fellows and repair the damage done in the past. We attempt to sweep away the debris which is accumulated out of our effort to live on self-will and run the show ourselves. If we haven't the will to do this, we ask until it comes. Remember, it was agreed at the beginning we would go to any length for victory over alcohol. That's from page 76 in the books Alcoholics Anonymous. I think we had the same page twice. And this is from the book Alcoholics Anonymous. Before taking drastic action which might implicate other people, we secure their consent. If we have obtained permission, have consulted with others, ask God to help, the drastic step is indicated. We must not shrink. Now, I want everybody to raise their right hand. And I'll tell you what I want you all to promise. I promise never to make amends without talking to someone else first.
I promise never to make amends without talking to someone else first.
And then the other concept, let me scroll down and see if we've got it. Nope, we're not there. Okay. It's important when you make amends that you make amends and then you be quiet. In other words, you're not there to say, hey, I'm sorry I did that, but I did it because you're really a jerk. That's not, you're not getting in the spirit of making amends. Let me
tell you something. That's so hard not to do. That is so freaking hard not to do and say something. Because that just happened to me. And I was just, you know.
Alrighty, I think we have a couple pages. I'm going to have to read it out of the big book. I'm going to pick up the reading on page 78. And I'm going to start at the first full paragraph.
I can read if you want me to, Rick.
Yeah, read the second full paragraphs on 78. That would be tremendous. Thank you.
The one that starts with in 9 or most alcoholic?
In 9 cases out of 10.
Okay. In 9 cases out of 10, the unexpected happens. Sometimes the man we are calling upon admits his own faults. So feuds of years standing melt away in an hour. Rarely do we fail to make satisfactory progress. Our former enemies sometimes praise what we are doing and wish us well. Occasionally, they will offer assistance. It should not matter, however, if someone does throw us out of his office. We have made our demonstration, done our part. It's water over the dam. You want me to continue?
Yeah, most alcoholics owe money. That next paragraph.
Okay, most alcoholics owe money. We do not dodge our creditors, telling them what we are trying to do. We make no bones about our drinking. They usually know it anyway, whether we think so or not, nor are we afraid of disclosing our alcoholism on the theory if it may cause financial harm. Approached in this way, the most ruthless creditor will sometimes surprise us. Arranging the best deal we can, we let these people know we are sorry. Our drinking has made us slow to pay. We must lose our fear of creditors no matter how far we have to go, for we are liable to drink if we are afraid to face them.
Excellent.
Wow.
Excellent.
Perhaps we have committed a criminal offense which might land us in jail if it were known to the authority.
We're going to stop. We're going to stop there.
Okay.
And it's a real short paragraph. I think we've already read this on page 80. Before taking drastic action which might implicate other people, we secure their consent. If we have obtained permission, have consulted with others, ask God to help, and the drastic step is indicated, we must not shrink. And from there we go to page 82. Good generalship may decide that the problem be attacked on the flank rather than risk face-to-face combat. If we have no such complication, there is plenty we should do at home. Sometimes we hear an alcoholic say the only thing he needs to do is keep sober. Certainly he must keep sober, for there will be no home if he doesn't. But he is yet a long way from making good to the wife or parents whom for years he has so shockingly treated. And then we jump to page 83. Does somebody else want to read? Let's read all of 83. Okay, I'll read. Yes, there is a long period of reconstruction ahead. We must take the lead. A remorseful mumbling that we are sorry won't fill the bill at all. We ought to sit down with the family and frankly analyze the past as we see it now, being very careful not to criticize them. Their defects may be glaring, but the chances are that our own actions are partially responsible. So we clean house with the family, asking each morning in meditation that our Creator show us the way of patience, tolerance, kindness, and love. The spiritual life is not a theory. We have to live it. Unless one's family expresses a desire to live upon spiritual principles, we think we ought not to urge them. We should not talk incessantly to them about spiritual matters. They will change in time. And then I have underlined, because when I was in the workshop, they suggested I underline, our behavior will convince them more than our words. We must remember that 10 or 20 years of drunkenness would make a skeptic out of anyone. There may be some wrongs we can never fully right, so we don't worry about them. If we can honestly say to ourselves that we would right them if we could. Some people cannot be seen. We send them an honest letter. There may be a valid reason for postponement in some cases, but we don't delay if it can be avoided. We should be sensible, tactful, considerate, and humble without being servile or scraping. As God's people, we stand on our feet and we don't crawl before anyone. And then I think our reading is, does somebody else want to read, starting with what's on the screen there, if we are painstaking about this phase of our development?
I will.
Go ahead.
The ninth step promises, if we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. The feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and economical insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them.
Excellent. We're going to stop you right there. And I'm supposed to go to 156. Let me look here. It's here. Oh, here we go. One morning he took the bull by the horns and set out to tell those he feared what his trouble had been. This talked about Dr. Bob. He found himself surprisingly well received and learned that many knew of his drinking. Of course, if you're a compulsive overeater, it's kind of hard to hide. Stepping into his car, he made the rounds of people he had hurt. He trembled as he went about, for this might be ruin, particularly to a person in his line of business. That's out of A Vision for You on 156. Oh, here's the thing that we promised not to make without talking to somebody else. And then Wally P. interviewed 100 people, sponsored by Dr. Bob, and this is how the AAs made amends in the 1940s. They have four things. Number one, they made a direct amends. That one is you just go and make amends. And then the other one will be the living amends. I think that's very important, not doing that particular thing anymore. And again, we talk about this several times in the workshop. You pray, you attend meetings, and you share from the heart. In-kind amends, what we might call substitutional amends. You could make an anonymous contribution, or you can do volunteer work. And the one which I think is actually funny is that people in the 1940s, they would send a letter, and they would write the letter, put a stamp on it, and make it and drop it in a mailbox, but it only had the person's first name. Didn't have a return address. I just think that's hilarious. And of course, if it works, I'm in favor of something that works. Now, let's see where we
Wait,
are.
may I say something? May I say something?
Yes.
I've heard it more than once. in regards to compulsive overeating, and then the comment that, of course, people can look at you and tell you're a compulsive overeater. Well, if you're bulimic or anorexic, people really can't look at you and tell that, you know, if you're compulsively overeating and you're, you know, getting rid of it. So I just wanted to add that.
Right. So we don't know for sure. And there's some people who come to meetings and they're not a pound overweight, but they have a problem. It's not us to tell them, hey, you don't need to be here. When I did the workshop at that AA group in southern Mississippi, they said that everyone here needs to write a letter. And I would just suggest to all of us here that, and I'm included, I need to write a letter to somebody to make amends. And there's something, and as Bill sees it, I don't have the reference, but he says if you have some deep resentments, a bit of letter writing could be a very good exercise, provided there's a wastebasket nearby. I like that one. I like that very much. And when I was also at that workshop, this wasn't part of the program. A woman told that at her AA meeting, the people, they just wanted to share. They didn't want to read out the big book. All they wanted to do was share. And she made the comment, maybe those people can't read. And I think that we need to be open to everyone that comes to our meetings. If you're on Zoom or something, a lot of times you just don't raise your hand or anything. But never assume that people who come to your meeting can read. That's a bad assumption. There's a lot of people in the country, and I want us to be open to everyone. It just really struck me, because I don't think about people not being able to read, but there are people who can't read, or their reading is bad, or they had a traumatic experience as a child. Doesn't matter. Let's think. I think we're to our, what are we, pre-8th step prayer. Let's do the pre-8th step prayer. God,
Please remove my fears and show me your truth.
Show me all the
Show me all the harms I have caused with my behavior, and help me be willing to make amends to one and all. Help me to be willing to go to any lengths for victory over
overeating. Compulsive overeating.
All righty, let's give ourselves a hand. We've done step 8. That's tremendous. And then we have 2 prayers here for step 9. God, with regards to this event, give me the strength,
courage,
and direction to do the right thing, no matter what the personal consequences may be.
Help me not to shrink from action. Help me to let it can be avoided. Help me to be
sensible, tactful,
considerate, and humble, without being servile
or scraping.
And then, we have several of these. Let's do the 9th step prayer for the spouse. God, please
show me how to love my spouse.
Father,
Father,
help me keep my spouse's happiness upmost in my mind. And as I try with your grace to make this relationship right. Amen. And then this is for the family. Let's do that one in unison. God, please show me the way of patience, tolerance, kindness, and love in my heart, my mind, and my soul. Lord, show me how to demonstrate these principles to my family and all those about me. Amen. And of course, that's on page 83, it looks like. Well, let's give ourselves a hand, because we've done step 9. That's tremendous. Tremendous.
woohoo!
Okay, now we're on page 85. Let's see what we got. I think some of these pages got doubled up. Oh, there's the thing. Make sure that they don't think they can read. Let me get the first paragraph on 85. Okay. Well, actually, I think our reading starts on page 84. This thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. We vigorously commenced this way of living as we cleaned up the past. We have entered the world of the Spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Love and tolerance of others is our code. And then when I did the workshop, they had me write in my big book, when we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help, they just had me put phone call. You make a phone call, somebody you can help. That's the easiest way to help. We have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. By this time, sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from it as from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and we will find that this will happen automatically. We will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That is the miracle of it. We are not fighting it, neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we had been placed in a position of neutrality, safety, and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. That is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. And I would share from my experience that even though I became abstinent in 2016, I still look longingly back at my binge foods for a little over 2 years. And if you read in Dr. Bob's Nightmare, he looked longingly back at the alcohol for 2.5 years. But I would just suggest to you that eventually, now my experience was it took over 2 years. I would hope it wouldn't take other people that long, but I don't know. But you get to a point when I look at like at a bakery or something, it scares me to think that I would go in there and order something. I am petrified to think of that. My life would be very happy if I never set foot in a bakery again for the rest of my life. Let's see. I think we do our step 10 prayer. I'm having a little trouble finding it. Oh, here we go. Let's do this prayer in unison, the 10th step prayer. My higher power, my daily prayer is to best serve you. I pray that I continue to grow in understanding and effectiveness. Help me to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. Help me to be willing to have remove them at once. I must be willing to discuss them with someone immediately. I will make amends quickly if I'm harmed anyone. And when I turn my thoughts towards helping someone else, please help me to remember to practice love and tolerance of others. All righty. Now, I want us to, one at a time, affirm that I will regularly do a step 10. And my name is Rick. I'm a compulsive overeater, and I commit to doing a regular step 10.
I'm Rose. I'm a compulsive overeater, and I commit to doing a regular step 10.
I'm Desiree, compulsive overeater, and I commit to doing a step 10.
Terry, I'm a compulsive overeater. I commit to doing a step 10.
I'm Vita. I'm a compulsive overeater, and I commit to doing a regular step 10.
All righty, let's give ourselves a hand. We're done with step 10. Now, we're up to step 11. Sandy Beach, who's a member of AA, he's dead now, but he says this is kind of an overlooked step, step 11, improving our conscious contact with God as we understand Him. Let's see what we have in our notes. Oh, and also back in the 1940s, they had guided meditation meetings. And when you meditate, you note things you see that inspire you. You note things that you hear that inspire you. And then how do you feel? What's your mood? And then sensation of knowing, thoughts that come to you. And then I thought it was interesting to find out, I didn't know this, that Ann Smith was a circuit speaker at the Oxford groups. And many phrases in the book Alcoholics Anonymous come from Ann Smith. Bill W. offered authorship of the chapter Two Wives to Ann Smith. That's Dr. Bob's wife. Lois got mad. Ann turned Bill down. Bill offered to Lois the chance to write the chapter, but Lois also turned Bill down. So Bill ended up writing the chapter to wives. I think we're supposed to read on 85. Did we already read that? We've done that. Okay, we pick up the reading on 85 at the bottom of the page. Step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. We shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. Better men than we are using it constantly. It works if we have the proper attitude and work at it. And I'm going to just stop right there and tell you that my program got a lot better when I started praying every day. I don't know how I was in Overeaters Anonymous and I hadn't been praying every day, but I didn't. But when I started praying every day, my program got better. And if you're not praying, you don't have a prayer. It would be easy to be vague about this matter, yet we believe we can make some definite and valuable suggestions. When we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Do we owe an apology? Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? Were we kind and loving toward all? What could we have done better? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time? Or were we thinking of what we could do for others, of what we could pack into the stream of life? But we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to others. After making our review, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken. On awakening, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. We consider our plans for the day. Before we begin, we ask God to direct our thinking, especially asking that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonesty, or self-seeking motives. Under these conditions, we can employ our mental facilities with assurance, for after all, God gave us brains to use. Our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motives. In thinking about our day, we may face indecision. We may not be able to determine which course to take. Here we ask God for inspiration, an intuitive thought or decision. We relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. We are often surprised at how the right answers will come after we have tried this for a while. What used to be the hunch or occasional inspiration gradually becomes a working part of the mind. Being still inexperienced and having just made conscious contact with God, it is not probable that we are going to be inspired at all times. We might pay for this presumption in all sorts of absurd actions and ideas. Nevertheless, we find that our thinking will, as time passes, be more and more on the plane of inspiration. We come to rely upon it. We usually conclude the period of meditation with a prayer that we be shown all through the day what our next step is to be, that we will be given whatever we need to take care of such problems. We ask especially for freedom from self-will and are careful to make no requests for ourselves only. We may ask for ourselves, however, if others will be helped. We are careful never to pray for our own selfish ends. Many of us have wasted a lot of time doing that, and it doesn't work. You can easily see why. If circumstances warrant, we ask our wives or friends to join us in morning meditation. If we belong to a religious denomination, which requires a definite morning devotion, we attend to that also. If not members of religious bodies, we sometimes select and memorize a few set prayers which emphasize the principles we have been discussing. There are many helpful books also. Suggestions about these may be obtained from one's priest, minister, or rabbi. Be quick to see where the religious people are right. Make use of what they offer. In my mind, that's huge, because what that is telling you is to find other books to help you with principles and the religious aspect of the program. As we go through the day, we pause when agitated or doubtful and ask for the right thought or action. We constantly remind ourselves we are no longer running the show, humbly saying to ourselves many times each day, "Thy will be done." We are then in much less danger of excitement, fear, anger, worry, self-pity, or foolish decisions. We become much more efficient. Now, they're very short prayers, but I want us to do the prayers together. I'm no longer running the show. Everyone, I'm no longer running the show. I'm no longer running the show. That's a huge...
No.
I'm no longer running the show.
I'm no longer running the show.
Thy will, not mine, be done.
Thy will, not mine, be done.
Thy will, not mine, be done. Those are very powerful. Very powerful. And then, I'm not sure if it's in the notes. No, anyway, the Oxford group had 4 absolutes: love, purity, honesty, unselfishness. When you work the steps, you're working to move yourself towards that ideal.
Can you say those again, Rick?
Yeah. Love, purity, honesty, unselfishness. And I know that's not in the literature, but it's kind of in there.
That's great.
But you know, those are huge. The more you get to where you love, you're pure, you're honest, and you're unselfish, you're a better person. Boom. That's tremendous. Some of the AA groups still kind of go in for that, which is fine. I think we're up to our 11th step prayer. Let me see if it's on the... We are not. We are not up to the prayer. We are up to 5 minutes. we're going to write for 5 minutes. Now, when we're done, I'm going to ask anyone who's willing to, only if you're willing to share what you wrote. But if there's something that you don't want to share with people, don't feel like you have to share it. But let's do 5 minutes of writing. And I think we went over the things that inspire you, things that you hear, and it could be either words or sounds in nature. Some people struggle with the concept of a higher power, and their higher power is when they go to the beach and they see the waves and they consider the majesty and the greatness and how small they are in comparison to the vastness of the oceans, mountains. And then how do you feel? Do you feel optimistic? And then things, maybe anything that you've learned. But anyway, let's spend 5 minutes. This is our 11th step, writing. Alrighty, I think that's been 5 minutes. That doesn't mean you can't do some more writing later. And when I was in that workshop, they told me that your writing for 5 minutes a day is part of your step 11. My sponsor asked me for years to do some writing, but somehow I went to that workshop and they said to do it. I did it. And in 3 days, I got to where I didn't dread writing, and now it doesn't bother me at all. I do my little writing every day. I'm going to actually send this page to my sponsor. She didn't ask me to do that, but I send it. Would somebody like to read what they wrote? It's voluntary.
I'll read. Lord, thank you for my brothers and sisters who so selflessly came together to honor you. Thank you for giving us guidance and direction through the big book of AA. Thank you, Lord, that there are absolute truths, love, purity, honesty, and unselfishness in such an imperfect world. Thank you for helping me acknowledge my problem with food and the issues that have fueled the problem. Thank you for your forgiveness and the constant reminder that you will never leave us or forsake us.
Excellent. Excellent. Somebody else want to read?
I do.
Go ahead.
Let's see. Okay. Things that I see that inspire me, things that I hear that inspire me, how do I feel, and sensation of knowing, thoughts that come to me. Ants. I swam every day at my neighborhood pool this past summer. I would take time to seek out any little animal I could find and observe them. One day I watched ants. They would work together as a team, and some would work alone. The ant that tried to move a chip that was 50 times its body size would keep dropping the chip. It would constantly go back and retrieve it. This tiny ant would not give up. Made me think about my past of giving up quickly when things seemed to be too hard, or I just didn't feel like putting any effort into it. Yet I would ask God to help me when I wasn't willing to help myself at all. Through the program and the fellowship, I'm no longer giving up. If something is hard, I just take baby steps, but I don't give up. I don't lose hope. And it's through sharing and hearing my fellows speak of their struggles and their successes that help me to continue my OA life and recovery.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
You were heard.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to read what they wrote?
This is Terry. Let me see if I can find what I wrote here. I didn't plan this, but I ended up, I'll just read it. I said, hold on. I got a lot out of reading the Bible. This shocks me as I never really was that kind of person, and I never read the Bible before. But I had an OA sponsor suggest it to me, even though I did, when I grew up Catholic, have it read to me in church. And please note, I do not attend church. It only went as a child when forced to go. But that got me into reading the book, and I discovered all sorts of things. Psalm 23, for instance, the Lord is my shepherd, etc., is almost a perfect statement of the type of relationship as depicted in the big book, only it is done ever so poetically. So I started reading the Bible, and my sponsor, I said, where should I start? He said, start with the book of James, which is the shortest book in the New Testament. I think that, I read it and I was like, wow, this is really good. So here's a little quote. Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow. For when your endurance is fully developed, you will find you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. And so that there's all kinds of good stuff in the book of James, and it's mercifully short. So then I was talking to this friend of mine about it, and he goes, I'm going to read in church. So I zoomed in because he wanted me to watch. But I thought this is kind of weird because this guy, he's always saying he's an atheist. And so I got to watch him on Zoom reading from the gospel, and it was really bad because I realized, his cynicism and this sense of needing to be ironic really bled through, and it kind of ruined the reading. But I realized that's what I was hearing when I was a kid, when they had like teenagers reading the Bible. So I was like, oh, so that's why that wasn't good, which led me to I was on Audible and I bought a copy of, there was a New Testament that is read by Johnny Cash when he was alive. So Johnny Cash was a believer and he had a great voice. It does an awesome job of reading the book, and it completely changed the way I perceived the book. I began to see that it is actually better written than Shakespeare. It's a really fine piece of literature. And I did start to see things about the New Testament story, which are all about food. And it's like, is it all about food? Like, for instance, you got a guy here who's going to be executed tomorrow, and he decides to have a Last Supper. And but it's a Passover meal, and it's a very abstinent meal as presented just for the fellowship to get together. And then I just finished up by talking about the miracles when he did all the fish and the bread. But he, first of all, the only bit of magic there is he says a prayer of gratitude, and then when they ask him if he's want to eat, he's like, "Oh, I have something better to eat," and he's referring to the will of his Father. And I pass. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Anybody else? He mentioned the Bible, and I like the passage in Proverbs 3, I think it's 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and soul and mind. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. Lean not on your own understanding. I think I got the thing twisted around. And I'm a compulsive overeater. I shouldn't lean on my own understanding. I have to turn to a power greater than myself. Now,
the verse I like is, the word of God is sharper than a double-edged sword. It cuts through the bone and marrow. It really separates everything out. And I Googled, what does the Bible say about gluttony? And there's about 100 verses. and it is very joyful. It's very, very, very joyful to hear this here in this meeting, and I know that there may be some people that aren't in the same place, but I hope everybody has open mind.
I bring it up just because, I started out, I really saw it as just a book to read like any other, you know what I mean? Really, literally,
right.
But I couldn't read it because it's just not the kind of book. It's got an archaic phrasing, and it took me a long while to find. I like the New International Version. That's easier.
Yeah, me too.
So that helped. And then hearing Johnny Cash read it really helped. And I'm not going for a long time, but I'll pass. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Anybody else? Okay, I'm gonna read what I wrote. I am optimistic today about my future. I am grateful for recovery in this new way of life. I'm grateful that I have 5 years of abstinence. And I'm very much grateful that my mother saw me for 2 years at a healthy body weight before she died. That meant a lot to me. I'm grateful for the friends that I have in the Overeaters Anonymous. When I came to OA, I had no friends at all. I asked someone to sponsor me with not pure motives. I wanted somebody to be my friend, and I wanted a sponsor. When you only have one friend in the world, they are very precious. The joy of helping others is wonderful for me in the Overeaters Anonymous. And then just to give you a picture of my sponsor, we can't show her face because of anonymity. She's on a mountaintop sitting on a robe. She's wearing a white robe and she's sitting on a rock. And there are beams of sunlight shining all around her. And the other thing is my wife has gotten nicer since I got into working the steps.
That's amazing how that works.
Yeah, oh, I can't, how she's changed. I don't know. Obviously, and I didn't write this, obviously my attitude has changed. She's still wonderful. If you're listening, dear, you're wonderful. And you always were. Anybody else want to share anything they wrote? Alrighty, I'm going to stop the recording I try to break it up into little 1 hour segments. We're not going to go a full another hour. But let me stop this.